Hi, I'm Dr. Quartell, and today I'm going to talk about medical conspiracy when opinion overrides science. And the kind of conspiracy that I'm talking about is not the tinfoil hat kind, but the kind that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries. It's the medical kind. And before anybody gets nervous, I'm not talking about alien DNA or vaccines or secret government microchips. I'm going to talk about something much more real and much more dangerous. It's the times when opinions and ego have overridden real practical science. And throughout history, medicine has been a mix of good intentions and bad ideas. If you've ever thought that your doctor's advice might seem a little questionable, well, you should hear what used to pass for cutting-edge medicine. We used to not even recommend washing your hands. Doctors laughed Semmelweis out of practice because he suggested he should wash his hands before seeing patients. So this first segment is called the classics. It's when guesswork was science. And these are some all-time favorite treatments. First one is bloodletting. For 2,000 years, doctors thought that draining your blood could cure almost anything. Headaches, fever, maybe even your heartbreak. But you were sick. They'd say, let's clean out some blood to see if it helps. And it usually did help, but it helped the disease kill you faster. It didn't help you survive. We need our blood. We don't need to drain it out. And then they also used mercury treatments. Mercury, the stuff that's in thermometers. In the 15th century, doctors would prescribe it for everything from syphilis to even constipation, because apparently the logic at that time was, well, if it burns your hands, it must burn away disease as well. I don't think it worked. It made people mad and affected the nervous system. There was also corpse medicine. In Europe, the tradition of grinding up mummies or drinking human blood, dead human blood for vitality. They used to think that maybe a teaspoon of dead Uncle Barry could cure arthritis. This was not the case. This did not happen. For centuries they did this. And just when you think you're hitting rock bottom, they used to use tobacco smoke enemas. Doctors would literally blow smoke, well, you know where they would blow smoke, where the sun doesn't shine, to treat constipation and revive drowning victims, which explains where the phrase blowing smoke up your butt became a figure of speech for nonsense, because we understand that it doesn't help, right? And then that brings us to the next segment. You think it might be the past, but it's really the modern era, because medicine was still guessing even in modern times. They were just now doing it lab coats, right? So even up until the beginning of the 20th century, we've got degrees, we've got hospitals and x-rays and microscopes, and surely we've outgrown the madness of just opinion medicine, but it didn't happen, right? So even into the modern era, even into the 20th centuries, bad ideas would get fancy names, like arsenic elixirs. You know, the poison arsenic? They'd put it in elixirs to sell as tonics for energy and clear skin. Radium water. Literally, radioactive water was promised to charge your vitality until people started to get cancer and lose their jaws. We used lobotomies as breakthroughs for mental illness, where they'd stick an ice pick into somebody's brain and scramble it up, right? Even heroin. Bayer aspirin, the company Bayer, would sell heroin as an over-the-counter non-addictive cough syrup, not corn syrup, cough syrup for kids. And this was not something that was good for health or help, right? And it took a long time for medicine to figure out that these were wrong. But just as they were figuring out that these were wrong, there were other things that took its place, right? So the next segment is what we call "we should have known better." And you'd think by the mid-1900s, we'd be using science as our compass, but the list of medical reversals proven wrong after decades of use tells a very different story. Until 1955, we were using radiation on thymus glands of children to prevent breathing issues. It didn't. Instead, it caused cancer and destroyed their immune system. Until 1960s, doctors were recommending smoking for asthma. That's right, smoking, inhaling burning leaves somehow made sense for asthma patients. And until 1970, the prescription for heart attack was plain bed rest for a month. No walking, no movement. Just lie there and probably wait for another blood clot to do the rest of the work. Until 1985, we were performing radical mastectomies for early breast cancer. That means removing the muscle, the bone, the tissue, the breast, long before evidence showed that less intervention was more. And until 1996, women who were giving birth were routinely given an episiotomy where they would cut the perineum with scissors because somebody decided, oh, nature needs some help. And it just worsened the recovery. And then even until the 21st century, the century we're in now, we're still learning the hard way because these medical opinions haven't stopped yet. Until 2002, hormone replacement therapy for women, we thought it protected hearts. It didn't. It showed increased cancer and increased heart disease. Until 2007, millions and millions of patients were getting coronary stents for stable angina. There wasn't any survival benefit, but there was a significant surgical risk. Until 2009, mammograms for women under 50 were pushed as life-saving, but now we know that there was more harm from false positives than any life benefit. Until 2013, arthroscopic knee surgeries for meniscus tears was routine. It's still going on today. I have patients that do it today, though we know that therapy works just as well, or if not better, without the scalpel and without the recovery time and the pain of surgery. Until 2015, low-fat diets were recommended for heart disease, and now we know that it wasn't fat, it was the ultra-processed carbs and ultra-processed foods that are the problem. In 2016, we were still using opioids as compassionate solutions for pain, and now we're counting the cost and addiction and lives lost to opiate addiction. And until 2017, pediatricians were still telling parents to avoid peanuts for their infants when it increased peanut allergy risk. And in 2019, there were millions of people that were still taking aspirin for heart disease when we know it didn't work. Right? So the pattern is, as medicine moves forward, science doesn't always influence the opinions that are being given out, right? Because opinions many times will drown out what science is. So the real conspiracy here, it's not that doctors are secretly plotting against patients. It's the belief that authority and profit oftentimes outweigh data, humility, and curiosity. The real conspiracy is that we trust the loudest voices over the truest evidence, over the scientific method, that we'd rather follow tradition than question it. And even today, medicine sometimes lags years or decades behind science that shows something else. So here's the real challenge. Here's the real conspiracy. Don't fall for the modern equivalent of bloodletting. Question the dogma. Ask why until the answer makes sense. Science isn't static. It evolves. It corrects. It admits when it's wrong or heading in the wrong direction. That's what makes it science. That's what makes the scientific method. And humor helps too, because if you can't laugh at the past, you might just start crying about what's going on in the present with healthcare and medicine. So the next time someone says, trust the science, remember, real science doesn't need trust or opinion. It'll earn your trust because it's true. I'm Dr. David Quartell, and this has been part of the Body User Manual podcast, and we use this because your body didn't come with a manual until now. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you stream, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even YouTube. And if you want the highlights, you can read the blog recap that's on our website, quartellchiropractic.com. And if you're curious about your own health, send me out a link. Send me an email. Instant message me. Reach out to me with my contact info. I'd love to hear from you and see if there's something I could do to help you as well.